Located in Johannesburg is a place that holds the history of South Africa. Documenting the journey of the country through the 20th century, the Apartheid Museum. It details the rise, the fall, and the aftermath of the apartheid regime. The bitterness is felt right from the entrance, where one is faced with two distinct entrances, one for whites and the other for non-white visitors. This alone gives one the distinct segregation that came with the apartheid regime. It doesn't end by the entrance. The museum will further display how the regime came with the implementation of the apartheid laws in 1948 and the devastating effects it had on the majority of the population, including land dispossession, economic discrimination, and the denial of political rights. All this is on display in different forms: audios and audiovisuals, artifacts, text panels, photographs, and other interactive tools. It is a whole journey through history. Two of the notable names in the fight against apartheid were Archbishop Desmond Tutu and Nelson Mandela. They both went on to win the Nobel Peace Prize and both stayed on the Vilakazi Street in Soweto, making it the only street in the world to house two Nobel Peace Prize winners. Tutu, an Anglican bishop, advocated for the fall of the apartheid regime through peaceful demonstrations. He advocated for economic freedom and went on to facilitate the reconciliation post-apartheid. A manuscript in the museum states that he was friends with Nelson Mandela, but would not hesitate to criticize his friend whenever he doesn't agree with Mandela's ideology. On the other hand, the museum narrates and depicts Nelson Mandela's story from childhood to being the first black president of South Africa and beyond. His story is such of hope, endurance, and reconciliation. The museum's Avenue of Heroes features life-sized bronze sculptures of anti-apartheid leaders, including Tutu and Mandela, as a tribute to their contributions. His story is explored in all forms: print, visual, and practical, such that the car that he received as a gift from Mercedes-Benz South Africa after winning the first multiracial elections in April 1994 is on display in its full glory. Another notable story found in the museum is the Soweto Uprising. This was a series of protests by black school children in South Africa on June 16, 1976, against the government's policy that all schools should adopt an Afrikaans curriculum, meaning students across South Africa will be learning in Afrikaans as their basic medium of instruction. The uprising began in Soweto, Johannesburg, and quickly spread to other parts of the country and soon became a major catalyst in the fight against apartheid. The Apartheid Museum does not only document the struggle in the dark past of South Africa, neither does it just focus on the fall of the regime and the dawn of a new South Africa. It also offers a message of hope and reconciliation, highlighting the progress made towards a more just and equitable society. As one exits the museum through the antique shop and the restaurant that takes you to the main gate, it is hard not to shed a tear or two. The museum is like a time capsule. Walking through there is like walking from the 20th century to the early 90s of South Africa, feeling firsthand the pain, the struggle, the oppression, and the dawn of a new South Africa. This place is a heritage for the history of South Africa. The apartheid started in 1948. Behind me in this museum, we have stories of the late Nelson Mandela, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, and other people that helped break the apartheid, or the other people that brought in the apartheid. When the apartheid came in 1948, according to what we read inside there, Archbishop Desmond Tutu was before apartheid regime, and he said he was educated in a system of churches, school churches, schools that were built by churches. So education was free, and people were free to learn beyond their imagination, and the knowledge was there, vast knowledge. But after the apartheid came in, took over the government, and made rules and laws to govern South Africa. Now it took over the government, took over the education system, it took over almost everything. And then that's when the racial segregation came in. Now there was a difference between blacks and whites, Europeans and non-Europeans. So there was that segregation. Now you have to use facilities that are meant for your skin color or your race. So there were non-Europeans, and these were also categorized by the Chinese, Indians, but the blacks were still at the bottom of the food chain. They were dealt with the short end of the stick, despite the fact that they were the natives of the land. But these people came in from both angles, and they took over everything, and they made rules to govern this country. When this country was being governed by the apartheid system, there were so many crimes against the black majority. It was a minority that time because it had no power to fight against all this. So people were getting killed, people were getting arrested for no reason. People were supposed to carry their pass. As black people, they cannot just walk into a restaurant and buy food. They had to go in an all-black restaurant just to buy food. Education was governed by the Europeans. The apartheid regime dictated what the children should learn, in what language they should learn, and what is supposed to be taught to them. So their history was being deleted, and they were given new education. And then this all ended. And it was ended by the voices and the actions of mighty people that stood firm and fought for their rights. And we also saw inside the Mercedes-Benz that Nelson Mandela got on the eve of his release. He was arrested. He was arrested because of two things. He had a 5-year sentence, 3 years, because he wanted to cause a strike. He was inciting violence. Wanted to cause a strike because he was fighting against the apartheid. So he was one of the youth leaders of ANC, that party. He was rallying within and abroad for support to come in and try to break the apartheid system. And 2 years of those 5 was because he left South Africa without a passport. He fled South Africa. He went into exile because he was afraid of being persecuted for the things that he's doing. And when he was caught, he was sentenced to 3 years in prison because of inciting to cause a riot or a strike, and 2 years because he left the country without a passport.
And then after his release in 1991, Mercedes-Benz South Africa, the workers there were so excited. The country was jubilant. And they said, you know what? We are going to work for free just to build a car for Nelson Mandela. And it was presented to him, a red Mercedes-Benz that was built by the people of South Africa. Mercedes-Benz South Africa, they said, we are going to do it for free. And then Mercedes-Benz South Africa said, yes, go ahead. And they gave them the materials and gave them whatever is needed, and they built this car and presented it as a gift. Not only that, there are pictures in their books, documentaries. It is very unfortunate that we cannot take that on video just to show you, but I can just tell you briefly what's happening. And today I had an opportunity to walk through those corridors and just go down history, memory lane. And then it shows that in 1994 was the first multiracial elections, that the apartheid was being brought down there, because now Nelson Mandela was to become the first black president of South Africa, and that was when the apartheid was brought to a halt, and now it was an equal state that people now should live equally. And that is the story of the apartheid, its inception and when it fell here in South Africa. The museum holds all of this, and that history, with how it is being preserved, can never be deleted. Behind me are buses, different schools, different tourists coming in to appreciate the history of South Africa. At the Apartheid Museum, that's where they teach you this. We have tour guides inside taking you through the corridors of the museum, telling you step by step of what has been happening and what is happening now, how it was before the apartheid, how it was during the regime, and how it is now that the apartheid regime has been put to halt. And all of this shall be preserved in the brains of the little ones and people out there to know the truth. And we tell the second generation and the coming generation, and that history is getting richer by every passing day. Just like we went to the Mandela Square, when you come to South Africa, these are some of the places that you have to visit to appreciate the history of the country, because you cannot know where you're going before you know where you're coming from. The best way to know where you're going and what you're doing there is to know where you're coming from and why you left in the first place. My name is Luna Stanley Pinganchira. This is Kanema Travel. We were at the Apartheid Museum just to appreciate the history of South Africa, this rainbow nation. It's called that because of the so many colors that we find here in this country. This is Kanema Travel. Stay tuned, we have more. But for here, the history of South Africa, we are done today.